Hello, and welcome to Black Marriage Therapy, BMT for short. Here we become students of marriage in order to create healthy, long lasting relationships. I'm your host, Kristen Smith, and in today's episode, we discuss love and business. Today, we're breaking the mold by exploring the idea of going into business with your spouse. Meet Troy and Shantel Brooks, childhood friends turned spouses and business partners, sharing their journey from NYC to Atlanta with purpose, impact, and faith. As parents of two boys, they co-own the TB Effect LLC, a medium production company that's not only earned $500,000 in brand partnerships, but also birthed Spartners, a book offering a fresh take on love and business. In Spartners, Troy and Chantel provide practical insights on how working with your spouse can enrich your marriage. Join us as we uncover reflective practices to reveal the value in your partner as a business ally and discover the gifts within your spouse for a purposeful life. In this episode, we will be learning about the Spartnership approach, the dynamics of partnership in marriage and business, and tips and advice. If you've been enjoying the content, please follow us on Instagram at Black Marriage Therapy, rate us on your podcast platform, and share your favorite episode with a friend. If you found that this podcast has benefited your marriage in any way, we have a very unique opportunity for you to support the work that we are doing. Supporting this podcast with a small monthly donation to help sustain future episodes for as low as 99 cents per month. All you have to do is go to our podcast page under the About tab and click the link Support This Podcast. Stay tuned. In our next episode, Gia and I will be discussing our attachment styles and how they have affected our relationship. Hello and welcome everyone back to Black Marriage Therapy. Today is a special day because we are joined not only by our co-host, Mr. Junior Smith, say hi to the people, but by our very special guests, Troy and Shantel Brooks.
Woo-woo. Yeah.
And today we are talking all about partnership. We're talking about love and business. And we're so excited because they're here to tell us more about themselves, but also to tell us about their book that they have coming out, which we're really excited to discuss.
I wanted to jump in and say that the reason why I'm excited to talk to you guys is because I feel like we've been doing the partnership thing for a little minute. Now we're doing this business stuff on top of this partnership stuff. And that is new to me. That is what I'm so excited to learn from you guys, because you live it, you breathe it, you eat it. You know what I mean? So this side of partnership is brand new to us. When did we start going to business together?
6 months ago.
Okay, 6 months ago. We're fresh. So I'm excited to talk to you guys. I really am.
So yeah, we want to start right off the bat with the book, Spartners. Like, first of all, Spartners. It sounds like a very interesting word. I'm like, I really gonna need you to break this down and help us understand what Spartners is, how you came up with the concept. Like, teach us about Spartners.
Okay.
So Spartners came up, honestly, one day it came up at what we call our outdoor office. So we just picked like all these awesome places that we like to do work together in the outdoors. So we had this like outdoor office space. And I was like, we are spouses that are business partners. Spartners. And it kind of literally just came like that. And that's what Spartners are. So when you think about a spouse that's a business partner, you are a Spartner. The genesis of the story started with me running a successful personal training and fitness group training business. And Chantel kind of like always helping me with everything that I was doing while also being a successful building leader, school opener in the education system, but kind of like transitioning out. And in short term, like me just really being like, wait, Chantel, you should work with me. And at this time, she was kind of going through like transitions of all the kind of stuff that she wanted to do on her own. I think I speak to that a little bit more, but you were like, I want to be a doula. I want to be a yoga instructor. I want to be all these things. And I'm just over here like, girl, like we can get this together. And she's just like, no, I'm a successful, Ivy League grad, boss woman, breadwinner in our family. Like, I got to do my thing. And I'm just like, oh, like, Lord, just, I pray that you put this on our heart at how dope we can be if we combine our gifts, our resources, everything that he's given us to truly be fruitful for his kingdom. And she came around, and when she did, our business catapulted. And I believe it's because she had fresh ideas. She had talents that I did not have. Just the way those things benefited our marriage, now they started to benefit our business. And we were like, this is it. This is our calling. This is our assignment. And God just made it so evident and so clear for us.
And I will add that it didn't just like happen overnight for us, because there was a lot of inner work that we both had to do with our ego, with our own past experiences, with our own psychological workforce trauma that we experienced. We had very different work preferences, and we still have different work preferences. But more than that, we had a lot of different hurts and pains that we were bringing into working together. And I needed to also trust him and lean into him. And so by leaning into him, leaning into God, and allowing him to really do the inner work within us, so that way we can do the work together, it has totally catapulted both our business and our marriage, most importantly. So I know it's a long answer to your question, but just to circle it back to our book, Spartners, Discover the Value in Your Spouse as a Business Partner and Enrich Your Marriage. In there, we discuss the elephant in the room, which is like, marriage as a partnership is already tough. So like, why add business on top of it, right? So we talk about that. We talk about the inner work that it takes to truly find the value in yourself first, but then also in your partner second, and then in your union as one for business and what God has called us to be. And then finally, we do show you what that could look like for you based on what it is that you hope to get out of working together, beyond being one and beyond income. But what does that look like? Legacy, autonomy. So we paint a picture of some strategies that you can use to really help your Spartnership, your marriage and business relationship thrive.
Ooh, come on, girl.
I know. That was amazing.
Podcast over. See you next time.
And done.
Troy, I heard you say that it took you, Shantel, it took a minute for you to come along. I'm curious, what was the thing that was just like, okay, no, I think this is right. I think this is what we're supposed to be doing to like go into business together?
I'd love for you to speak to that.
Okay. So I was in a profession that I was really great at, but I was filling others, but it wasn't filling me. Like I knew God called me for something different. And it took me literally 15 years to finally leave this career.
Oh, wow.
And I had amazing health benefits. I had like great income, making one of the highest paid roles in the country. And in that role, and yet it still wasn't enough. And for so long, although I was a believer, I found value in my title. I found value in my income. I found value in the ability to say, like, like I get like summers off, which I really didn't get summers off, but whatever.
No, I didn't really get summers off in administration.
It's just like I found value in all the wrong things. And yes, they got us so far, and they got us some of God's promises, but not the promise that he has for us, because we were applying too much of our own will. And so when we left, we moved, and that was our reset. And so he was going to continue, he continued on. And that is where I tried again to do it all by myself. But as Troy said, one day it just hit me, and I said, you know what? Instead of me doing me, because I saw like I was trying to work on my like mom stuff, and he was doing his thing, and I'd help him, but we had a child at home, one in school, and we kind of, it still was like I was still having my own profession, which I thought at the time was fine, right? Which was fine for us. But our goal was we wanted to spend more time together. We wanted to align our personal and professional lives so that way we can have more quality time.
Absolutely.
I didn't want to have to always be on my computer working around the clock and have limited time for him, where he just knows me as like the evening wife and the weekend wife. But that is still ultimately what we still had. Even though we were both working at home in our own things, it still was like two separate like silos. And so I sat back and said, you know what? he actually values my gifts. I actually enjoy working with him. And I saw this full circle moment of all the talents, all the strengths, all the passions, all the skills God has given me since I was like 4 years old that businesses and schools never really valued in me. And so once I said, I'm going to stop doing me and I'm going to start doing us, it was so freeing. But it took more pain. It took more awareness of like, still not what I want. And it took me really kicking my ego, because I swore I was like, like he said, I was this, like, there's no way I could just leave my job and do his thing. Like, nah, like that's not what was in the cards. But really it was our thing, because we've been able to now birth Spartners. And it started with working together in content creation. And now we're here enriching marriages for God's kingdom. Like you could have never told us two years ago that this is what it would have ended up. But when we lean into God and allow his promise to come to fruition his way, so much is possible. So yeah, that's that.
Ooh.
She said a lot.
He who finds a wife finds a good thing. You hear me?
Wow. There was so many gems in that.
Yeah.
Did you want to add to that?
No, I mean, I relate to that totally, because Chrislyn is the business owner in this situation. And I was assisting her for a little bit, and I'm like, I'm definitely gonna do my own thing. I see she started her she started her podcast 2 years ago. It's taken off. I'm like, okay, that's cool. And then me, also being a man, I want to be the breadwinner. I want to be the one who is providing for my wife and kids. But Kristen's having success. God is meeting her where she is. And last year I got laid off from my job, and I'm like, man, what am I gonna do now? And Kristen said the same prayer. Well, she told me this afterward that you said, Troy. She was like, God, please put on his heart, put on his heart to come and, join me. She told me she didn't want to come and tell me that, because she's like, I don't know how he's going to react. Like, he lost his job. He's probably going to just want to get another one. And, me working for her, I know, his ego. And so I had that moment that you had where I believe we can be dope together. We are. And I think that this is our purpose, to provide marriage education.
It is.
So,
yeah. And I think that right before he joined the team, or, joined me in the business, I was taking on a lot. And I was just like, this feels like a lot. Like, I feel like I need help. Like, and I was like trying to look at, okay, who can I hire or whatever. And then this whole thing happened. And I'm like, I'm sad, of course, because, my husband lost his job. But then in the back of my mind, I'm like, this might be the perfect.
We get it.
And then as soon as he took on, his part and his role, like, I'm just like, I feel like we just flourished from there. Like, we were able to just do so much more because we have more hands. They say many hands make the work light. And that's exactly what it felt like. I want to transition here from Spartnership and talk a little bit about partnership.
Yeah, we know that God has called us to be one, and we believe that when we got married, it wasn't like, all right, y'all one now. Right? Like,
it don't really happen like that.
Tell us more about that, please. The beginning, like the partnership.
Yeah, so you're becoming one, and so in our partnership, we're like, all right, I again come from my upbringing and my way of how my parents were able to like raise me. What I saw was appropriate. What I saw was like, tweak that a little bit. He came from his household, and he felt the love. He had things that he was like, I want to make sure I continue this in my marriage. And these are some of the things I'm going to ensure is not in my marriage. Right. And so when we started partnering up in our marriage, we had specific boundaries, like rules, as far as just respect for one another. Non-negotiable. So like, what time you staying out to, like what time you got to be home. If it gets past this time, like how many messages or you need to call me before it gets to this point. If you're going to be late, you need to let me know before you're late, things like that, like respect stuff. And, but then also more than that, just like rules of the house. So how are we going to work together to maintain our household? How are we going to like, when's our date's going to be? So really just trying to like ensure that we schedule things. We were also way more, what would you call it? Just like free. We had no children at the time. Newlyweds, you're just like figuring it out.
It's young and outside. You just call it what it is.
But our partnerships look like ensuring that we both got what we needed individually for ourselves. So friend time, alone, family time, because that's really important to work with our family. but then also our time. And then as our marriage has evolved, now you're talking about new career choices. You're talking about moving, buying houses together, or renting, or whatever you're doing. Talking about kids. And so now it's like, okay, like who's going to work today when our child's sick? Who's staying home? So having to negotiate that. Who is, we have these bills and this income and this trip. So how are we going to use our finances to ensure we can get it all in, or what needs to go out? So now we're having more of those conversations.
Well, even having conversations when it comes to the finances, having a conversation about, all right, who's better at managing the finances, right? Like, who's going to be smarter at managing the finances? Like, I don't have to take that on just because I'm a man, right? Like, if she's smarter than me when it comes to managing finances, if she's more responsible, then why not let her lead in that area? Like, that's something that's super important within our partnership, within a marriage, is letting the person that's great or good at something do it, right? We want to be effective. That's our whole thing, is being simple. Simplicity scales, complexity fails. Marriage is already complex.
Right.
We don't want to make that thing more complex than it has to be.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And that's even just like clothes, right? Like shopping, like he's our shopper, right? Like he gets like this.
I get the whole family fly. Everybody's fly
because of him.
Ain't nobody ashy. Babies is heavily moisturized. My baby looking good.
Yeah, we play our roles. Like, I knew I was in education, but I knew that would be a real tough spot for me to go into schools with my expertise. So I told Troy, like, you're gonna need to be the front, the mouth. I'm just gonna be here because I don't think a hands on me with my 2-year-old, And so again, knowing our areas of opportunity, knowing our strength exactly.
So I'm curious now with what you guys are saying, because it sounds like you guys had a very solid foundation, and starting out healthily, which I think is part of our mission. And in that, like, you don't have to start off. There's certain bumps in the road that you can kind of mitigate in the beginning through education and teaching and counseling and trauma, and knowing your trauma, things like that. But I'm curious, like, how did you guys set up that foundation? Like, was it modeled to you? Did you guys just read together, or like, how did you guys create that healthy foundation where it's like literally you were able to build on it from here, because where you guys are now?
Yeah. Well, the first thing I'll say is, like, shout out to our old church. They wouldn't even marry us until we did 5 months of marriage counseling. So we had to do like premarital counseling before we even got married, which I think really gave us a strong foundation, because you got to talk about the sticky things. You got to talk about jealousy. You got to talk about ego. You got to talk about infidelity. You got to talk about finances. You got to talk about children.
Trying to get in the way and break it up.
All of these things and that is so detrimental, and we got to put a pin in that. Let's make sure we really get back to the component of children in your foundation. But I think all of those things, like having that foundation and coming in with that knowledge, really, really set us up for success. And I think it truly set us apart, because a lot of the people we know did not do that. They just got married, right? So they didn't have that.
And if I could just add, even taking it one step before the premarital counseling, we ran a tight ship when it came to who we're actually going to like marry, or like say like we made our I don't want to say mistakes, but we learned from our past experiences. And through that, we learned exactly what it is that God wants for us, that we want for us. And so for me, one of the biggest things was trust. Like, it didn't matter what you did for your job, profession, whatever, but I need to trust you, because why? I was cheated on by like almost every single person I dated. For whatever reason, I was just always cheated on. And so he was beyond open, a little too open at times. Like, I don't want to talk about that one.
Take me as I am. I come as I am.
Yes, he's very honest. If you ever want to know something, just ask him. So he was so honest. And that for me just like allowed me to truly like fall in love with him. And that is why like, and he also just had like this like, a certain like way about him that he's always going to be a go-getter. He's always going to go after. So I knew regardless what profession he had, we were going to be all right. And he was a man of God, but the trust thing was really like really, really crucial. And for him, he also went through a line of like exactly what it is that he needed and wanted. And so our foundation, yes, we had different models in our lives, but that work that we did in our 20s, coupled with that premarital counseling, coupled with just us truly wanting our marriage to not just be good, but to be great.
Yeah. And I had a question, follow-up question, because I love hearing all the things you guys put in place to have this successful foundation, even before you guys got married, right? And then couples counseling. But I did want to ask you about difficulties and challenges, because we know that, there's ups and downs in marriage. And then even when you're a business partner or a Spartner, right? Then you have higher ups and maybe even higher lows. So I wanted you to speak to a time maybe when you guys did have some difficulty, right? And then how were you able to overcome that challenge as Spartners? Because I could imagine, right? I love my wife with such a strong passion, and this business, I put so much effort, and she puts 10 times more effort than I do. And so it's risky and it's a little bit scary when the people you work with, the people who you love, are in business with you. And, there is maybe some issue that comes up, maybe a feeling to point fingers, whatever. And so can you speak to a time like that when you guys had a challenge being Spartners, and how did you guys overcome that to get back to margaritas in the summer?
So first, I just start by saying marriage is sticky. There are 99 reasons why a marriage can be unsuccessful. And the same thing is true for a business. And then when you couple them together, couples who are in business together are 10% more likely to end in divorce than couples who are not, because of everything you just said. And one of the leading factors of why couples won't go into businesses together is because they're afraid of that. But what we find is that it forces you, when you work together, it forces you to really have your team meetings that you probably aren't having in your marriage, your check-ins that you're probably not having in your marriage, your temperature checks that you're probably not having in your marriage. It forces you to not grow apart, but forces you to grow together because you're focused on the same goal. So I just want to touch on that point, that marriage is sticky, business is sticky, but business will force you and in your marriage to be better partners for each other in marriage and for your business if you want it to be successful.
Absolutely.
As far as a challenge, man, the work that we're doing, the enemy is after us. So there's a challenge once a week, literally within our household. But to add to what you're asking, there's a yin yang. And so just like there's someone who's the visionary and someone who's grounded, there's the play, there's the work, there's also the anxious, and there's the calm, the grounder. And so when there are moments of heat or chaos or whatever, it could be me that's questioning if my faith all of a sudden gets unwavered. You know what I'm saying? We are so strong in our faith, but there are still moments and days that it's no. And so when those moments happen, the other, by the grace of God, always is strong. If you're in a healthy place, they're already your balance. They're already your touch. They're already your support. And so when it comes to business, last year in our content creation business, we lost one of our major partners to work with. We work with them yearly, and that literally pays our mortgage, right? And so it's a great, great deal. And so to lose it, it was really, really hard. And and so for a moment, you're there okay, that sucks. And so now this is God saying, now you need to pivot. Now you need to find.
That's where I was gonna go. Now you got this one partner who I was so fearful at one point to lose that partnership, because she said, that partnership paid our mortgage literally for the last 2 years. But then I got excited, kind of how you got excited when Junior left his job. My fear literally turned to excitement. Because I was if God is closing this door, I can't wait for us to walk through the door that he's about to open for us. You know what I'm saying? So I was able to affirm her in that during that time. I'm so excited for what God is about to do. You get the yin and yang. You have a healthy.
We also, my sister just passed away late 2023 in November, just days before Thanksgiving, young kids, tragically, suddenly. It truly knocked me out creatively. I was creatively paralyzed is how I diagnosed myself for. I just started coming out of it just a few weeks ago. And we're creators, we're content creators. That's our business. And so again, had I been doing this business on my own, I would have totally tanked, right? But because there's a partner, my spouse, who not only wants to console me and comfort me and give me time to grieve, who's also grieving, but because he didn't have the creative paralysis, he was still able to create. He's like, don't worry, like, I got this, you do what you can.
Yeah.
So I was able to revise do more revisions with the books and just like things that I don't have to really be creative. Now it's just editing, right? It's different kind of mindset. And so he can now take that creative space on. And so so we go through challenges all the time, and by the grace of God, he always ensures that your partner has your back, that like you're good. That you're good.
It is an interesting thing to be loved and cared for in the working space. I've definitely had working trauma, and it is such, I didn't know that it could plague your soul the way it does, you know, because I had to experience it to understand, like, wow, like this really is hurtful and painful. And it is a completely different space to be in a place where you're working, not only you're doing what you love, but the person you're doing it with loves you and cares for you, you know, and wants to like see you succeed. Like Junior, I would say, is like my biggest cheerleader. There's certain things he's like, no, you can do that. No, you should do that, you know, and always encouraging me. But it's just like, it really is like food to the soul. Like it really just like fills you, you know. Don't look like that. But I do want to talk about a little bit your structure in prioritizing your marriage, because, and maybe this is just because we're in the beginning, but there's a lot of space and time that we're giving to the business. It's our little baby right now. There's so much effort and energy. And 6 months ago, well, a couple months ago, we really had a realization like, wow, like this business is taking up so much of our time. Like, how are we? And this year we put in a little bit of a plan together to like, okay, how are we going to stay connected? But I'm curious as to like, what did that look like for you guys starting out with the business? What structures did you put in place to make sure that your marriage stayed a priority?
So we have what we call our 3H foundation, right? So our 3H Spartner foundation is our head, our heart, and our home. So it's basically this triangle, right? With these three different things that we make sure that we are prioritizing. So like in our head, what does that look like? That's communication, right? So like making sure that we're communicating, that we're aligned, that we're on the same page with stuff, you know. And I can go down the list of a lot of things underneath the head part, but then going into the heart part, like that is like our intimacy, right? Making sure that we're prioritizing intimacy, touch, connection, not losing those things. Like it's so easy to get lost. What were the stats that we read about couples lately in regards to like intimacy, like actual sex? What was that one?
That like women reported in a study that they only are having sexual intimacy 2 to 3 times a month.
Yeah. So we're not playing those games over here, right? We're gonna make sure we get it in and we stay connected in that capacity. And then the home, like our home is like, all right, so like going over stuff, making sure that we're structuring meetings, right? We have our family meetings where we're talking about like things for Sage in school, things for Phoenix in school, what needs to happen in that, discussing like not necessarily roles in the house, but who's going to take on what project in the house, who's going to do what, make sure that we have a respect level around those things. Like we don't have gender specific rules. Like I'm a strong guy, but I also have a strong wife. So she's feeling like she wants to carry some bags into the house. I don't care what them neighbors are saying, because like, what am I supposed to do? Tell my wife she can't do it? Y'all crazy. Like I'm like, damn, look at my strong wife. So we want to make sure that we prioritize our head, our heart, our home. And that's one of the things that we provide in our Spartner coaching, our courses, and the book.
And just to add a little bit more coloring to each, one strategy that we really enjoy practicing under our head for communication is practicing the platinum rule.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's like do unto others as they want done to them.
Yeah.
So many times we've been taught of the golden rule, like treat others the way you want to be treated. But you know what? You don't really want that.
No.
He needs to be spoken to quickly, directly, and I need to like make my long-winded explanations in like 10 words, right? But for
my girl's short story long.
And so once I realized that it's helped me become better, I'm still working, but the same thing is true for do unto others. He doesn't like surprises. He wants to know what he's getting. And so when it comes to like business or just pleasure, like here, what would you like? You choose it for your birthday, or you choose it for this. So that's just one strategy that we really help couples define and refine for themselves. Because so many couples are like, I can't even talk to them. Like, talk to my spouse. It's like, girl, you've been with, most likely, Malcolm Gladwell says that it takes only 10,000 hours to master a skill. Not only, but 10,000 hours to master a skill.
Yeah.
You've most likely been with your spouse, talking to them for more than 10,000 hours, unless you just got married yesterday and you just met each other 3 days before that, right?
Yeah.
So you already know how to talk to your spouse, but you need to choose to talk to your spouse the way they
Come
need
on,
to be spoken to. And within our heart, we also practice the 2-2-2 rule. So that's having a date night every 2 weeks, having a getaway every 2 months, and going on a vacation, just you, if you don't have children, every 2 years. And then within our home, we do really try to practice shared responsibilities around the house. In the beginning, we did have like, I'm going to do this, you're going to do that. But we also see, and studies have proven, that the more shared chores that you can have, the happier your marriage will be. So we are, it's constantly something that we're practicing. He usually takes kids to school. So if I could take him to school some days, he's like, thanks. I usually might like do the dishes. And when he does the dishes, it's like, thanks. And
I got to see the way she looks at me when I do the dishes.
So those are just like some other strategies beneath our 3H system that have really helped us build a framework to balance our marriage and business. And I know most of those were marriage, but that's because it is our marriage. Like, we have working hours, right? Like, we didn't get into this to just always be working.
Yeah.
And some things are going to call for you to work more hours than the others. And so for now, like, our working hours are during like 9 to 3 until the kids come home. And then in the nighttime, we do marriage work, like where we're doing our check-ins, we're watching marriage ministries, we're in classes to build our spiritual formation. Like, we are working.
We have dedicated prayer times. Dedicated prayer times.
So, so like you said, you have 24 hours in a day. It's how you choose to use them. But these frameworks and these schedules and these routines and being consistent with them have really helped us maximize our business and marriage relationship, and are helping our community members maximize theirs too.
Wow. That was beautifully articulated.
Yeah, for sure.
Beautifully articulated. I think that's a perfect way to explain it. I'm so filled in this conversation. Sorry, go ahead.
We don't play about this. We pray a lot, and we pray a lot together, right? So we pray over everything. We ask the Holy Spirit to truly speak for us. And I think that's why we're able to be as successful and as structured as we are, because we don't even lean on our own understanding.
Yeah, for sure.
That's good.
And there are some moments where we have to be flexible too. And if it's like, you know what? We tired.
Yeah.
You know what?
We
go outside. We allow for those.
Or like, we supposed to pray tonight, but we're going to pray quickly and then have this glass of wine tonight. Flexible.
For sure. You got to have the flexibility. I was just saying that I feel very filled by this conversation, because I think this is part of like what we're preaching, or like not really trying to convince, but really trying to teach people is possible in marriage. Like, each topic talking about communication, talking about partnership, talking about these different things. And I'm filled because I'm like, I knew it existed. Like, I know. And I'm like, this couple is doing all the things we're telling people is possible, right? To really create a healthy relationship. And you guys are in the stage now where you're taking it even further, where it's just like, now that you have that healthy foundation, you have that healthy relationship, you can build on that according to God, you know what I'm saying, to take dominion over this earth. He told that to a couple.
Yes.
To
Adam and Eve.
Adam and Eve, right? He told them to take dominion over this earth, right? So I'm just filled by that. I just had to say that. Like, as they're talking, I'm like, oh, you guys are so my people.
We are.
Oh my goodness. So we're going to wrap up here real soon, but I do have 2 things. The first one is that there are some who critique marriage and business, or running your marriage like a business. As we're doing this business thing together, I am realizing more and more, I'm like, this is kind of like how we do our marriage, right? But that is sometimes a critique, because it can make your marriage feel cold. Maybe you lose some of the spontaneity or like the butterfly feelings. So I just want to hear like your thoughts on that. What do you think about those who saying running your marriage like a business is not a good idea?
Can I take this one?
Please.
Let me add them. All right. So first and foremost, I would ask you, like, what businesses, right? Like running your marriage like a business. What business? What kind of business, right?
Mm.
Got some of these major companies that make sure that there is a healthy ecosystem, right? And that there's a healthy level of morale. Google has foam pits, right? For the adults, they get to just jump in foam pits. They got gyms with personal training memberships to make sure that they're getting the physical wellness components that they need. So if you have companies doing that from the inside, like they're prioritizing their employees, like who says that you can't prioritize the employees in your business, right? So for us, again, I just told y'all, we just gave y'all the blueprint, like prioritize having fun. So for us, like we look at the models of some of the most successful big corporations and businesses and how they run it and how they make sure that there is a work and play dynamic to keep the morale up. Like, again, MOB, marriage over money, right? Even over business, our 3H system, the things that we have in place are to adhere to making sure that the butterflies don't go away. If anything, we're just leaning in closer to each other. And, Chantel, one of Chantel's favorite things to say is prevention before intervention. So again, those meetings that we have, that temperature check. Hey, how you feeling today? What's going on? Truly caring, right? Actively listening to each other. It just makes sure that those things don't even become a thing. Like, if anything, and in our 10th year, like, and I'm not just saying this for the fact of saying this, but it's the truth. Like, I love her right now more than I've ever loved her in my entire life. And I thought that I really thought that, I always loved her, but once she became a mother of my children, like, I didn't think I was going to be able to ever love her more than that. You're now the mother of my children. But I love the way God works, because what we're doing right now in tandem literally is a testament to his goodness, because I love her now more than I ever have in my life. I think it's just, again, this is a testament of God and his goodness. And yeah, I think you can do it. I know you can do it. We got a lot of receipts that you can do it. And when you read a book, you will see other husband and wife couples who are killing it and doing it successfully. We got receipts.
And I do want to just also add that when you think about those businesses or those corporations or those organizations, schools, etc., where you're like, I'm not trying to run my marriage like that. That's usually because it's dysfunctional, right? And yet, even though it's dysfunctional, how do you show up at work? You're polite, you're patient, you're respectful, you just smile, and you just do what you got to do. And so, yes, if you treat your marriage like a dysfunctional business treats their employees, yeah,
that's the word.
Right.
Come on.
But if you treat it like a functional space and you take the good things in those businesses into your marriage,
Come on.
now you're not only just building your business, but you're truly building your marriage.
That's good.
Because because you're truly investing time, quality time into making it work.
So,
and we know good marriages, great marriages don't happen by happenstance. They happen by personality, consistency.
Yes.
So you got to put the work in.
You got to put your work in.
You got to put the work in.
Yes.
You got to put your hours in.
Yeah. So, yeah, I just want to wrap us up right here, because I think this is a perfect way to end it. And we usually just leave our audience with tips or encouragement or advice, whichever you feel like is on your heart to share with the people listening. And then just, take the time to really tell people how to find you, how to connect with you, to tell them where to find the book, Spartners, and things like that. So the floor is yours.
So yes, first I'll just start with my tip or suggestion is, as Troy says, just start. If you are in a healthy marriage, and you don't need to leave your job tomorrow and start a full-time business at all. You can start as simple as serving together in your local church or for an organization, just to see what it feels like to be aligned and working towards the same goal. Or you can try a side hustle, a side business, whether it's a vending machine or company or some solar light or whatever it is.
Something
you
small.
can just try something. You could be selling beauty products, whatever it is, just to try something to see, how does this feel? Get your feet wet. You will be connected in a way that you've never been connected before. When you work together towards the same good, beyond, again, just trying to get your kids to school, even that feels like an accomplishment, right? Let's just say, when we could both get our kids to school on time,
Come on.
Come on, man.
So imagine business, and that brings in a few extra dollars. So point is, you don't need to have a full-time job to be Spartners. It could be as simple as serving. It could also get a little bit more robust by part-time side hustle or full-time gig. But the first step is to discover the value in your spouse and believe that, yes, working together is an alternate way to having a beautiful, elevated, enriched marriage. So go to spartnersbook.com to learn more about our book and how you can get it, order it. We love the book, not just for couples, but also for small groups. Couples, like-minded couples. And so get a few books, get a few of your friends around and start your book study this spring. And if you want to just also stay connected to our community, you're not quite sure if you want the book yet, but you're like, you know what, they're dropping some gems. Then go to spartnersconnect.com where you will get bite-sized pieces of information weekly to your inbox. We are also on Instagram.
At We Are Spartners.
We Are Spartners. And you'll find our individual pages there, all the things. But we would love to have you a part of our community.
And we pray that you guys, you find alignment in this and you see that you are called to do more. You're called to be more. And you get to multiply in so many different ways. There's something, you want to talk about increasing your intimacy, increasing your connection. There's something really amazing about signing a contract on a deal that you both got together. There's something like we have the opportunity to like celebrate. Like when we get to strategize, close on a deal, talk about a win, talk about like the exhilaration, like talk about, you know what's attractive to me when we like pitch a brand for something and she's like, no, we can ask for more. And I'm like, all right, let's pray on it. And we ask for more and they give it to us. Like that feeling together, like we did that. Like that feeling is a feeling that we just want everyone to be able to feel, those who want it. We do feature other Spartners like us in our book. Our goal is to not only build God's kingdom, but to also build the kingdom here on earth with a community of empowered couples who work together, who support each other, and who lean into each other. And so again, we would love to have y'all a part of our community so that way we can lean on each other, support each other, and grow. That's what we're here for. So even if you guys are like, oh, I think I want to do this, but I don't know what kind of business to start, you join our community and maybe we can help assist you strategizing ideas on how to get into a business together, how to diversify your financial portfolio and see if this thing is a true fit for you. Join our community.
Wow, that was amazing. That is all that we have for you guys today. Don't worry, everything that we spoke about, everything that Troy and Shantel mentioned in regards to connecting with them will be available in our show notes. You can always go into the show notes to see all those things. We are so grateful that we were able to have this conversation, and hopefully you guys are writing down or receiving all these gems because they were coming in left and right. But thank you all for tuning into this episode of Black Marriage Therapy. If you haven't yet, follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Black Marriage Therapy. Thanks again for listening. Talk to you soon.